If your cold emails are landing in spam, you are absolutely ruining your campaign performance. If no one can see your emails, no one's gonna book calls with you and you're going to see little to no results, which is why in today's video, I'm going to go through the full deliverability checklist that I've used inside my agency to send over 1 million cold emails, book over 1,000 sales calls, and consistently land in the inbox. How to send cold emails that never land in the spam folder. What I'm going to cover here is the full deliverability checklist that I've used to send over 1 million cold emails for us and our clients that got results like these. So here's some proof: over 75% open rates on these campaigns. This is a lot better than the industry average, which is about 20 to 30%, and only really possible if your emails are not landing in the spam folder. You can even see here 30% reply rate, a lot higher than what most people are getting. Total calls booked, this is from last year from our campaign dashboard. We had over 1,000 sales calls booked just from cold email. And here's some other results: 20% reply rate. We don't have the open rates tracked on these campaigns and for most of our campaigns because paradoxically that lowers deliverability, but you can see here you're only going to get these types of results if your emails are inboxing. So here's a caveat: email rules are ever changing and very little is publicly published from main email providers on what constitutes spam or not, how to make sure that you're guaranteed not landing in spam. And a lot of these rules are constantly changing. So while most of this is not publicly available, here are some guidelines that we use internally, have seen great results with, and have shown that there's a very, very, very low chance that our emails are landing in the spam folder. So the first thing that we do is make sure that we buy secondary domains. So the biggest mistake that I see that beginners make whenever they try to launch cold email campaigns is they send emails directly from their primary domain. So they send directly from their, XYZ company domain.com. On the off chance your email gets blacklisted, sometimes that happens even if you follow the best practices, you do not want to make sure your main domain is burned. The reason why is because if that happens, all your emails from all of the people on your domain are going to go to spam, which is not good. But among that, you also cannot send enough volume if you simply just don't have enough email domains. So you want to make sure you're purchasing secondary domains. These are lookalike domains or domains that are similar to your main domain. So you might have, company.com, you might buy getcompany.com, and you can buy these from any domain provider. They all kind of get the same job done. I prefer using Porkbun, GoDaddy, or Squarespace. Porkbun has a lot of automation stuff. It's cheaper and it's very easy to set up on. GoDaddy, similar situation, very easy to set up on. And Squarespace has a lot of native integrations with Google Workspace, which makes it very good to use. But you can use any domain provider. It ultimately doesn't matter. You just want to make sure that you're setting up secondary domains for your cold email sending. So the next thing we're going to cover is adding proper DNS records. So if you don't have your backend DNS records set up properly, you're going to see significantly worse deliverability. And some email providers will outright reject your inboxes if you do not have these properly set up. So don't just take this from me. Here's Google's published sender requirements that they said are going to go into effect here. This is one of the few pieces that Google has published on sending requirements, but they even say here explicitly, make sure you have SPF DKIM authentication set up for your domain and also have DMARC email authentication set up for your sending domain. So the three main records you need to have set up are the ones referenced above, which are SPF, DKIM, and DMARC. SPF records, you typically set this up when you're connecting your domain to an inbox provider, while DKIM is typically a separate setting found in the security settings of either Google or Microsoft or whatever platform you're using. And then DMARC records can be added after the fact in your DNS settings. You simply have to go into your DNS settings, copy and paste a few things in. If you need more guidance on that, you can go to a website like easydmarc.com and you can have a DMARC record generated for your website so that you can have that in place. Because if you have all three of these things in place, you're going to see significantly better results with your cold emails. The next thing you want in place is to make sure your secondary domains, meaning the ones they're using specifically for cold email sending, are connected to your main domain. So while this is a simple step to miss, this can cause people to report you as spam because they go to one of your secondary domains. It doesn't point anywhere and people think it's spammy behavior. One of the biggest things that actually causes your emails to land in the spam folder is people just pressing the mark as spam function. And so you need to do everything you can to not only have everything set up on a technical level, but also on the level of if someone reads your email, they don't press the mark as spam button. This is one of those things. So making sure that if you have a secondary domain, that it redirects to your main domain so that they can see you're a legit person with a legit website and see what your company is all about. All you have to do to get this set up is go into the settings section of whatever domain registrar you're using and have it just point back to your main domain. The next best practice that you should have in place is to only have 2 inbox inboxes per one sending domain that you have. So this means you're only having 2 email accounts per domain. So for example, if you have a secondary website and it's called website.com, you're only going to have Matt, for example, and Matthew. You're not going to make another account here. And if you have another domain, you're going to have Matt and Matthew, or whatever the configuration is. You just want to make sure that you're not having more than 2 actual email accounts per domain. And so yeah, I've heard this all the time. People say, hey, this other person recommends I can do 3, I can do 5, I can do 10. And while I've seen other people do this, I disagree. And there's definitely more than one way to set up a cold email system. However, if you're going to want to err on the side of caution, which I highly recommend, because if no one's seeing your emails, then there's no chance that you're going to get any sort of responses. Like, cold email deliverability is the #1 priority you should have. And so you do not want to be cutting corners. The last thing you want to do is, push the edge just a little bit, have your email send slightly more, or have just one too many inbox, and then cause all your emails to go to spam and no one sees anything at all. So the best chance of having your stuff land in the inbox, just make sure that less is more. So 2 inboxes per one domain. This is what we've seen is the best, and just making sure that your emails are landing in the inbox while still making sure that you're having more than 1 inbox on a domain. You can run more if you'd like, but for maximum safety, I recommend no more than 2 inboxes per one cold email domain. Now that you have all your inboxes set up, you're going to want to add them to Warmup, and more specifically have a 14-day warm up period. So warm up is a process. If you're using a sending tool, they should have this feature where you slowly ramp up the amount of emails you're sending to other email users in a warm up pool. This helps increase your reputation, but you should add your email to a warm up pool. This is going to help increase your email's reputation. It is one of the best ways to consistently land in the inbox. Make sure that every new domain you have is warmed up for an absolute minimum of 14 days, and gradually ramping up the amount of emails that you're sending inside the warm up pool by 3 to 5 emails per day, up to 35 emails per day. So this is a rough guideline, a rough estimate of how many warm up emails you can be using. This is what we do, but obviously there can be some variance. The exact numbers aren't as important as just making sure that #1, you're warming up for 14 days, and #2, making sure you're gradually ramping everything up. Whenever your campaigns go live, you can touch it down just a little bit, but you want to make sure that you have warm up enabled, that you're doing it for a minimum of 14 days, and that you're doing this regularly to make sure that your email accounts actually have good reputation. And this will help you massively increase the chances that you're going to land in the inbox. So the next thing you're going to want to do is make sure that you're avoiding high sending volume. So the less emails that you send, the more likely you are to inbox, plain and simple. So what Google and Microsoft and most of these providers are doing to check to see if you're a legit human is to see if you're just doing things a normal human would be doing. And the average person, I don't know about you, but the average person I know is not sending hundreds or thousands of emails per day. So there's no reason that Google and Microsoft would look at you and say, hey, if you're sending 1,000 emails a day, that's totally normal human activity. Let's put you in the inbox. Imagine that you're driving on a road with no posted speed limit. Will the cops pull you over at 70 miles an hour? Maybe they will. 50 miles an hour? Also possible. 25 miles an hour? Very likely that they won't. The same thing is true with cold email. You're effectively sending emails and you don't know what, Google and Microsoft, they don't have all these posted guidelines where they say, hey, you can only send 25 cold emails per day on our platform. So we're going to have to just assume that there's some invisible speed limit, and we want to make sure that we're going under it consistently, because if you go over it, it's going to destroy your inboxes and just make your life a nightmare. So the max that we recommend as of today is sending 25 emails per day per inbox. Again, subject to change based on your email infrastructure and a lot of other factors, but similar to this driving example, right? In the right location, maybe you can drive 70 miles an hour and there's no cops there and you won't get pulled over, but that might not last for very long. Same with 50 emails per day. That used to work a while ago, but as of today, we've seen that causes way too many issues, makes it so that you end up in the spam folder, and also causes other email sending issues that you don't want to deal with. So some resources recommend more, but I recommend sticking to the best practices, making sure that you're sending less and erring on the side of caution, because if your emails do not land in the inbox, then no one's going to see them and you're not going to get any results. So this is a best practice that most people miss out on, and it's called using spin tags. So the more emails that you send out that are exactly the same, the more likely that Google and Microsoft are going to pick up on the fact that your emails are completely automated. So if you send an email out and it's the exact same thing over and over and over again, maybe with one small change like the name that you're using in a variable, they're going to pick up pretty quickly that you're sending automated cold emails, throw you in the spam folder. So this is where spin tags comes in. Spin tags is a feature in most cold email sending tools that allows you to make micro variations in your email copy that make all your emails come across as slightly unique. So some examples is is these are just small examples, but if you just send out hi name, hi name, hi name, Google might pick up on that. But if you say hi name, hey name, hello name, good morning name, good afternoon name, and you have all these micro variations in your email, this is going to make it more likely that you are not going to be seen as an automated email sender and that you are going to land the inbox. Same thing goes with the closing sequence. You can have best, thanks, regards, thank you. And you can also put these all through your email copy. The goal is here to have all these micro variations. So whenever you send out email to one prospect, that same email sent out to another prospect is going to have all these slight micro variations that can be controlled through your email sending tool. And you use spin tags to facilitate this. You can even do this through like call to action. So first person email might get interested, the second person's email might get worth a chat, and the third person's email might get worth exploring further, on top of all these other things that make every email that you send out almost completely unique, which in the eyes of Google and Microsoft allows you to land in the inbox. This can be somewhat controversial, but I like to say no links, no images ever in any of your cold emails. So we can debate this. There are cases where you can send links maybe in emails 2 and 3 when you've already inboxed in someone's account that you won't have as much of an impact. But what I've seen personally is that when you send links and images, you're just going to cause a ton of issues on the deliverability level. There's no case where if you send a link or an image, it'll ever improve your ability to deliver ever. It's always going to make it worse. At best, it's going to be equal or slightly worse. And at worst case, you're going to either land in the spam folder or get rejected all out. So here's a recent client story to kind of illustrate this. We took on a consulting client. They were sending about 4,000 emails per day. They were getting about 1 interested lead per day, which is very, very low for the amount of emails that they're sending. And we were strictly helping them on the inbox management level. But as we were seeing this, we saw that something was clearly off. We did an audit of their campaign, noticed that he had links in his campaign that was leading to email bounces. And if emails are bouncing, there's a very high chance that your emails are ending up in spam, at least the ones that are delivering. So I explained that he's likely seeing issues because of the link. We removed the link, and within an instant, the next day, we saw about a 5x improvement in the positive replies. We went from 1 interested lead to 5 interested leads just by making that small switch. And so for that reason, we just don't use links. We don't use images. We try and remove all of that because again, it's never going to help you. And very likely the link or the image or the thing that you're trying to send can be conveyed just by using plain text. This next piece kind of hits on the point that we were talking about earlier about getting marked as spam. One of the most key points of getting flagged as spam or landing in the spam inbox is getting marked as spam by other users. So this is a super simple one. This has nothing to do with technical stuff, but send relevant emails. Don't bother with bait and switch tactics, shock value gimmicks, any other tricks. If you get marked as spam, there's a very high likelihood chance you're going to consistently land in spam. So the best way to do this is to make sure that you avoid getting marked as spam and sending out relevant emails. So sending out emails to people that are relevant, identifying them properly. If you send an email out and you said, hey, I noticed you're a chiropractor in the Pittsburgh area, and that person is not a chiropractor or not in the Pittsburgh area, they're just going to mark it as spam. And so there's these key features that are outside of just the technical stuff that if you do them improperly, people are going to mark you as spam, and it's going to cause other deliverability issues. The second to last thing here, avoid massive sequences. Hitting on that point, if you get marked as spam, you're more likely to end up in spam. And one of the things that annoys a lot of people is just sending super long sequences. Two things are true at the same time. Number one, you need to follow up with people, but number two, you also need to avoid sending massive follow-up sequences to people who have not expressed interest. So instead, focus on giving case studies, sales assets, high value for 2 to 3 emails. But if you send 8 emails in a row, someone didn't respond to your 4th email or 5th email or 6th email, they're likely not going to respond to your 7th or 8th or 9th or 10th, and they're likely just going to mark it as spam. This is going to cause you issues, deliverability. It's overall just going to hurt your campaign performance and also make it likely that you're ending up in spam. So if you can avoid making sure that people are angry at your emails, if people are actually enjoying the emails you're sending, not marking them as spam, and you have the back-end text stuff, you're going to be almost certainly set. And the last thing I'm going to cover here is verify all of your leads. So if your emails are bouncing at a high percent, you're not only going to be wasting email sends, but your emails are likely going to get blacklisted. This is one of the biggest things. If your emails are getting sent out and Google and Microsoft are seeing, hey, 5%, 8%, 10% of the people you're reaching out to don't even exist, they can catch on pretty quick. This person's doing something that is irregular. So the way that you get around this is using an email validation service. You can use a tool like Million Verifier, Never Bounce. Scrubby is a tool that verifies catch-all emails. And there's a new tool called Listmint that recently got released that also does both of these things. You can also source data from a tool like listkit.io that does the list validation natively. Just make sure whatever you're doing that all your leads are verified before you start emailing your prospects. If you enjoyed this video, feel free free to check out the other videos here on the channel. I talk a lot about cold email marketing, lead generation. You can also check out my Twitter, my LinkedIn. Also, if you're a business and you're making more than $30,000 a month, you're looking to get help with cold email, whether that's completely done for you or on a consulting basis, you can click the link in the description, anivamarketing.com. You can book a call and speak with me or someone else on my team, and we can help you out there. Appreciate you and best of luck with your cold email campaign.